Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto was son of wind god and goddess. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Naruto Uzumaki knew he was in big trouble right now, not because of the makeup-wearing guy that was holding Konohamaru up by the collar of his shirt, but because next to him was a very beautiful girl that looked like she was 2 years older than him, meaning she was 15 and was about 5 foot tall. She was wearing light purple single garment that extended to her thighs. She also had a red sash around her waist, and while it exposed her shoulders, the fishnet covered it up. The fishnet also covered her left thigh and right calf. The dress showed that her chest was developed, unlike his teammates, which are flat. She had blonde hair which looked more like sand than the sun, which his blonde hair looked like. She wore her headband around her neck, which was stupid as it was meant to protect her forehead. He didn't like to say this as it was going to sound way to Shikamaru in his opinion, but the only word for the situation is troublesome. Kankuro put the brat down. "We came here for different reasons than to fight opponents on your level," said the blonde girl, which made everyone laugh at the makeup-wearing Kankuro. Kankuro was about to say something, but a rock was connected to his hand which made him release Konohamaru, which ran straight behind Naruto for protection. Looking up, they saw a black-haired boy that had a smirk on his facing, which basically said that he was better than him. Adding to his sister's mocking of him, he was pissed and started to take of the object of his back, which shocked the girl. "You are going to use Karasu here? Do you want Konoha to kick us out before the exams start?" questioned the girl, but makeup boy ignored her. "Wait, isn't Karasu a puppet that was made by Sasori of the Red Sands? And what is your name?" asked Naruto, which made everyone look at him in shock while the kids looked puzzled. Who was Sasori? And what was such a big thing about him? The second question was aimed at the still unnamed girl. "I'm Tamari no Sabaku, and who are you, cutie?" asked now named Tamari in hopes of trying to avoid the first question. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki, the future Hokage of the Leaf Village and strongest genin in the village. This is my teammate Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha," said Naruto, boasting as usual with his confident voice, and pointed towards his two teammates when he mentioned them. "You can send me love letters when you get back to Suna, but how about we go on a date tomorrow? You're 10 and that's strong already, but no, sorry, I don't date little kids," she said in a not-so-sorry voice, not liking that a 10-year-old was hitting on her. She heard the Konoha ninja and residents laughing while Naruto looked angry. "I am not 10, I am 13, and I'm not little," he shouted, looking angry at her and everyone else in that was laughing at him. Naruto was like upset that she would think he was 10, mainly because he absolutely hated called little. Before anyone said something again, they heard a voice from the tree. Sasuke was standing only on the other side of his branch, head down. He wore the usual clothing sand ninja wear along with a gourd. His hair was red and was messy, and his headband was tied to the gourd instead being on his forehead. "What going on here? Kankuro, have you been embarrassing our village again? If so, I will kill you," said the boy with no emotion even. When he said that he will kill his teammate, and what the genin didn't know, his own brother. "Of course not, Gaara, let go back to sensei, he wanted to see us," replied Kankuro nervously, sweating bullets. Without saying something again, Gaara used the body flicker technique and appeared before his teammates and started to walk away. "Tamari, come to the Ichiraku ramen stand at 7 today, I will be waiting for you," shouted Naruto, looking at Tamari expectantly. Looking back at him and seeing the hopeful look in his eyes, she couldn't will herself to reject him. "Yeah, why not? But if you're wearing any orange when I turn up, I will go away," she waved, and with that they were out of sight. It took Naruto a couple of seconds to process what happened, but when he did recover, he shouted "Yada." He then realized what she then told him and quickly ran away, not answering the questioning looks of his teammates and ignoring when Konohamaru gave him thumbs up and said, "Good catch, bosses." After getting home, he quickly browsed through his closet looking for anything he could that wasn't orange, and found a blue shirt with a black jacket with 3 red strips on the sleeves, blue Anbu pants and blue sandals. These clothes were given to him by the 3rd Hokage as a gift for attaining the genin rank, to make him look more professional. He honestly liked the outfit, it made him look more like ninja. Tamari was walking down the street towards the ramen bar. She knew where it was as she visited the place before meeting the Konoha ninja. Tamari, for one, was going to meet Naruto for information about Konoha ninja, as she told Baki and Kankuro, mainly because she wanted to know how much chance they had to win the war they wanted and were going to launch at Konoha. When she was near the ramen bar she saw Naruto in the new attire and she blushed a bit. He looked hot right now with the new clothes. That still won't make any difference anyway, so she dismissed him anyway and concentrated on getting information out of him. "Hey Tamari-chan, don't stand there, let go in and have some food," said Naruto waving at her to get her attention. "Yeah, let go." After going inside and ordering themselves some ramen they started to have a small talk to not get bored. "Are you going to participate in the Chunin exams? After all, you are the best genin in the village?" asked Tamari in a tone that suggested something which was either ignored by Naruto or he didn't understand what she was trying to say, which was more likely the latter. "Yeah, my team will wipe the floor with everyone in the exam. Kakashi-sensei even taught me super cool jutsu." "Oh yeah, Tamari, are you a wind user having an iron fan and all?" asked Naruto after taking the note of the fan that Tamari bought with her. "How come I only took note of it just now?" he mentally shouted, frustrated at his obliviousness. "Not with my team, we are going to wipe the floor with your team," replied Tamari, confident in her team just like Naruto. Standing up she mentioned Naruto to come with her. Paying for their meal the duo left and started to walk to where Tamari temporarily lived and talked about how their team would beat each other, neither giving away any of their abilities, with Tamari forgetting why she actually came to the meeting with Naruto. Hotel room of the Sand siblings. Coming into her room she found her two brothers there along with her sensei, waiting for her report. She ignored them. Instead she put her heavy fan on the floor and sat down on her bed opposite her youngest brother, who also looked at her, but unlike everyone else he looked at her with no emotion on his face other than his crazed eyes, which were full of madness, which made her sigh in regret and sadness at what become of her once innocent little brother because she couldn't protect him from her own dad. "So I take the mission was a failure?" asked Baki, thinking that was the reason she signed, which was partly right but wrong nonetheless. "Yes, I've learned nothing, as I never got the chance to ask him about the strength of the ninja of Konoha." She lied at the start since she had a lot of opportunities but didn't want to make Naruto start thinking something going to happen soon to the village and report it to the Hokage or his sensei. "Did you like the date, sis?" asked Kankuro with a grin on his face. Tamari smiled sweetly at him, which unnerved Kankuro a bit before she answered him. "Does your face want to have another meeting with my fan?" she asked in return, which made him shake his head. "Then get out of everyone bar." Tamari left the room and she went to the bathroom intending to get a shower then get some sleep. Few days later. Chunin exams. Running towards the academy for the exams, Naruto couldn't be madder at himself for waking up late and making his team wait for him. Good thing was 30 minutes were left to get to the designed classroom. Seeing his teammates waiting for him he shouted, "Sorry Teme for coming late. Where's Sakura? I thought she would be here by now." Looking rightfully annoyed at Naruto, Sasuke pointed towards the entrance into the academy where she was talking to Amy, one of their old teammates. After waiting a few minutes Amy walked away and Sakura came towards them. "What kept you so long?" asked Sasuke, annoyed at being the only one who was ready for the exams while his teammate were either late or distracted. Before she said something, Sasuke just walked in, not waiting for her to reply. After getting on the second floor they saw a bunch of people there at the door which said 301 while two genin blocked the people from entering. Sasuke didn't spread them a glance and just walked past them and up to the third floor. His two teammates just followed him even as they realized it was a genjutsu to weed out the weaker teams. Going into the corridor that housed the room 301 they saw Kakashi there reading his orange book. "Oh hey guys, so all of you came. Good," said Kakashi, giving them an eye smile. "Kakashi-sensei, why are you here?" "Not even a greeting, Naruto," said Kakashi, sounding hurt, but a second later he replied to Naruto's question. "I'm here to say good luck and make sure all of you came. If one of you hadn't come, the other two would not be able to compete." Before his genin could ask him more questions he vanished in a puff of smoke. "We'll let go in then, Naruto, Sasuke-kun," said Sakura as she opened the door to the room to see it full of older genin, only some their age. Looking around, the only ones who stood out were the odd redhead and a blonde woman who seemed an aura around her that reminded her of Kakashi and Zabuza, which meant that woman was just as powerful as them. But before she could spot anyone else she heard a familiar voice. "You guys are here too. This exam is way too troublesome," said a very bored voice that belonged to only one person who could ever be this bored. Shikamaru Nara, the heir to the laziest clan in Konoha, the Nara clan. "Sasuke-kun," screeched Ino as she jumped at Sasuke intending to hug him, however because Sasuke predicted what was going to happen. He moved out of the way, making Ino nearly fall before she got her balance back. Pouting, she moved near Sakura and pretended to not be there to avoid any more embarrassing situations. Sakura for once didn't feel nervous about the exams as she thought she would, but then again she survived an encounter with Zabuza, so that might be the reason. Sasuke was impatient to get the exams started and test himself against the most powerful genin, and that was Gaara and the blonde Kumo ninja that radiated power around her. Naruto felt just like Sasuke, but instead of wanting to fight a certain blonde, he wanted to go and greet her and ask what was up, but even he knew that was not something to do during such important thing like the Chunin exams. "So the whole gang is here," said a loud voice of Kiba Inuzuka that was rivaling Naruto's loudness. "This test sure is easy if weaklings like Naruto are here," finished Kiba with a superior smirk that was gone when his shy teammate spoke. "Kiba-kun, last time you sparred with Naruto-kun you lost, so please don't try to insult him." Everyone looked like Hinata grew a second head after saying that with such a fierce voice, and mostly Naruto, who never even knew Hinata was in their class to begin with. Sasuke smirked and looked at Hinata with approving eyes, liking that she had a backbone and was more than just a shallow fangirl which nodded to everything their crush said or did without their own opinion on the matter. Or in this case, overcoming her own shyness to verbally protect someone they believe and admire when everyone else was against said person. Before the loud Inuzuka could reply, a new voice was heard. "If I was you, I would keep quiet. These exams put everyone on edge. You don't want to tip the off even more now, would you?" the voice said, as if they were talking to little kids. The new person was wearing round glasses, gray hair, which was the only thing interesting about him. "Who are you and why should we listen to you?" asked Shikamaru sharply. Kabuto Yakushi, an experienced genin that wants to help the new babies, he lied smoothly that everyone believed him. "Did you do these exams before, Kabuto-san?" asked Sakura. "Actually, I did it 7 times before, so this is my 8th time, and the exams are twice a year, so 4 years now." "Really?" said Kabuto in a sheepishly. "You suck, so how would you help us when you can't even help yourself?" questioned Kiba, saying what everyone else was thinking. "Well, I didn't exactly waste time. You see, I collected information on nearly every genin in this exam, and I'm willing to share the information with you," said Kabuto, sounding confident and proud of himself. This got people to start thinking about the kind of information they would want, but was beaten by Naruto, who had a question which was different than everyone else. "Does Tamari Sabaku of Sand have a boyfriend, and what are her hobbies and her favorite flowers?" Everyone looked like he was an idiot, which he was, mind you. Tamari just put her head down to avoid Konkuro or whoever else was looking at her to see her blushing a storm, being flustered and all. Well, you see, I don't have that kind of information on her, but more on her abilities and stuff," replied Kabuto, who was like everyone else caught off guard after being asked such random questions. Number 1 most unpredictable, knucklehead ninja was what Kakashi-sensei labeled him, was it? Well, that was spot on, thought the 2 other members of Team 7, simultaneously looking ashamed at having such an idiot of a teammate. "I don't need any information on people's abilities. What do you think I am? A weakling?" replied Naruto, and everyone seemed to agree with him and seemed as they won't be asking for any information on other people's skills. Kabuto just smiled and cursed on the inside at having the blonde take Sasuke's away attention, which would complicate things for him and his own personal mission. The rookie 9 just went back talking together, and only then Sasuke and Naruto noticed Shino there, which made the sweat drop at not noticing him before. A few minutes later, and smoke enveloped the front of the room. After the smoke cleared, a tall man with scars on his face stood in front of around a dozen Chunin who had clipboards. "Shut up, maggot. My name is Ibiki Morino, the first proctor of the Chunin exams, so listen up before you get disqualified," stated the tall and imposing man. "Shut up, maggot. My name is Ibiki Morino, the first proctor of the Chunin exams, so listen up before you get disqualified," stated the tall and imposing man. At this, everyone looked at the imposing man and waited for him to continue talking and giving them instructions as to what they are going to do. "Form a line and take a seat at the designed number after you give your paperwork to the Chunin gathered her. Do it now," he shouted, the last bit scaring a few genin who, like Hinata, were rather meek in personality. After doing exactly what they were supposed to do, all the genin were separated around the room, which made it obvious that working with your teammate was not needed to pass the exam. Looking around, he saw a girl to his left that was from Rain Village, and to his right was another girl, Akonoha Kunoichi, looking like a year older than him with black hair which was set in a hime cut with her hair going down to her middle back, which looked nice, noted Sasuke. He saw her wearing her blue forehead protector on her forehead instead on her neck or anywhere else like other young kunoichi tended to do. She wore a black kimono-style blouse that held closed by a red obi that had mesh shirt underneath. She also wore bee sandals. Her face was round. If her hair was red she would have looked like a tomato, he thought. Coming back to reality, he saw that the proctor for the first exam finished explaining the rules for the first test and his objectives. After reading the rules that were on the board, same as in canon, he concluded he couldn't answer even one question. Activating his Sharingan and started to copy the person in front of him, and in 20 minutes he was done. Seeing he was done and the answers made sense, he looked back to see Sakura writing down the answers fast, which meant she knew the answers to these ridiculously hard questions. Bookworm was the first thing that came to his mind. Turning his head, he saw how pathetic Naruto looked, which made sense to him since academically he was worst of the whole of the class of genin. But Sasuke knew Naruto would get something down in time so that they won't be disqualified. After all, Naruto did come up with a strategy to outsmart Zabuza. Looking to his right, he saw the girl's own paper to see it blank bar the name section. Emi Megumi. Looking at her face, he saw a face full of panic. Looking back at the front of the class he currently was in, he thought back to what Kakashi told him. Sasuke, you are a genius on a different level than any other genius I've ever heard of or worked with. Being a genius is a blessing that should be used to help other and not to waste it on a stupid thing like revenge. Now before you tick off, I'm not saying that you should forget what happened to your clan or the fact that only you can face and kill your brother. No, what I'm saying is that you should find a different purpose to live for than just revenge, and if you don't know what to dedicate yourself with, start with helping your comrades. Maybe you will find that it's not bad to rely on other to accomplish something. The only way to help her would be giving her my answer sheet. Now should I do it? He then thought of what Itachi would have done and did the exact opposite. Without anyone noticing, he rubbed out his name and put hers name on it, and switched the papers just as fast. Once Emi realized what was going on, she turned her head and saw the Uchiha kid and realized what happened and promised herself that she would thank the kid. Some ninja would have been ticked off thinking that the other person was trying to mock them, but she wasn't that type of person. Instead, she thought that he truly wanted to help a fellow leaf ninja. With Naruto, like most other people in the room, had no idea what the answers to the questions were, but he was unfortunate that he had no way to cheat without being caught. He already knew the hidden meaning to the test, which was to cheat. The problem was how to cheat without being caught 5 times, and came up with one way but was too risky to do it, so instead he will do it at the near end of the exam if he couldn't answer the last question. Maybe if I stop thinking about the questions I might calm down. Thinking that way, he started to think more positively, which was how he and the rest of his team managed to learn new jutsus and a new chakra control exercise. Water walking was very useful and not as hard for him because it needed more chakra than tree walking. He learned 3 new jutsus. First one was lightning release. Lightning magnet, which was going to be useless against someone like Zabuza, but a genin. That will be very useful for the exams. At least Kakashi said so. The second jutsu was lightning release. Shadow clone, his new favorite jutsu. The last jutsu was wind release. Smoke dome, which was a defensive jutsu. Out of the 3 jutsu, he learned the wind technique was the easiest for some reason, only taking a week to get down, while it took twice as much for the lightning clone and lightning magnet. 45 minutes have passed, so put your pencils down and listen. After getting everyone's attention, he continued. Now before I give me next question, I have a few more rules. At that moment, Kankuro came back with his puppet that was concealed as his Chunin escort to the toilet and made Ibiki smirk. You came just in time, now sit down. After Kankuro passed Temari's desk, he dropped a piece of paper that made one of the Chunin write something down on his board. Sweating, Kankuro sat down and waited for further instructions, hoping that the proctors will not disqualify him. As I was saying, there will be new rules that will be unique to the 10th question. Looking around and saw a few frowns from the older ninja, while the younger had a face full of concentration, while some of the faces he saw were full of dread or hope, which meant they didn't understand the first portion of the exam and hoped to pass with answering the last question, which nearly made him shake his head at their underperformance and just disqualify them then and there. But he chose to give them one last chance to prove themselves. Rule number 1. You can choose to take or leave the question. If you leave the question, you lose all of your points, and so you and your team fail. He said, and various genin shouted that of course they will take it, the loudest of them being Kiba, Team 7 however knew there was a but there which will make the 10th question even harder after looking underneath like Kakashi taught them. Putting his hand up to shut the genin up he continued, however if you take it and fail you will never be able to take the Chunin exams again. He finished and smirked at the genin. You can't do that, you don't have enough power to do so, shouted Tamari in indignation at Ibiki. Yes, I do not have enough power, but Konoha is the strongest ninja village and the Hokage gave the green light, meaning what I said is 100% true. He smirked at her when she sat down in defeat. Now who wants to give up now? Jonin lounge. Kakashi, my eternal rival, want to make a bet which team will be most successful during these youthful exams? Asked, shouted Guy Might, the second strongest Jonin in the village. Kakashi, who was reading the book, thought of just ignoring Guy, but suddenly a thought came to him and said, yes, if you can run around the village 10 times before the first part is over. After exclaiming how he will do it before the exams are finished, Guy left and started on his laps. Kakashi, do you think your team has a chance to get to the final part of the exam? Questioned Asuma Sarutobi. I think they will be knocked out in the second part, mainly because of Naruto and Sasuke will try to overdo each other and will fail to retrieve the second scroll they will need. All the Jonin were told what the second part was after arriving in the lounge, so that they prepare to go to the tower in the Forest of Death before the day so finished, as the genin will have no time to recuperate between the first and second stage of the exams. If you think that they will fail, why you entered them? Questioned the only female member of the Jonin in the Jonin lounge. Kurenai Yuhi, a known genjutsu specialist, along of being a beautiful woman. For the same reason like both of you, so that they grow up and realize that doing things on your own will not solve anything, and that is more true for Sasuke than anyone else, as he is very arrogant and doesn't want any help in anything, stated Kakashi. Classroom 301, bringing his hand up, Naruto shocked every leaf ninja thinking that he was giving up. Suddenly he brought his hand down and banged the table before standing up and saying, I don't quit, you can act up all you want, you guys won't scare me away. Now way I don't care if I do get stuck being genin for the rest of my life. I still will be Hokage. He's completely clueless, yet he's still going for it. You guys are crazy. If you are going for it, you should quit, and this is your last chance, he said, trying to break a few more of the genin's resolve before announcing that they all passed. But no one budged an inch, and so he announced that they passed, and before anything else was done or knew what was happening, a few smoke bombs were thrown before Ibiki, who stepped back and waited for Anko to finish up with her introduction. After the smoke, man who wore very little with purple hair that was set in a spiky fanned ponytail. Behind the women was a banner that said, Second Proctor of the Chunin exams, Anko Midarashi. Now follow me to the second part of the exams stage. Staring at the fence of the forest in anticipation he was about to enter, Naruto reminded himself of what he and his team needed to do. Within 5 days, get a heaven scroll. You can't open the scrolls before entering the tower or you get disqualified. He nodded to himself and looked over the teams that looked rather weak that they could take on and win easily, and thought that the Rain Genin would be easily disposable. Looking at Sasuke, looking at the Rain Genin, he knew he was thinking the same, and thus their target were chosen, and so no arguments will be made good. He saw Sakura look scared and thought of comforting the girl, but the gate opened and so the three of them jumped in and started to run to the left where the Rain Genin were supposed to be, as they had their gate over there. After around 30 minutes the three saw their target, and Sasuke threw 5 shuriken at the trio, who noticed it and jumped away and turned to the 3 newcomers. You 3 must be stupid to attack us like this, right boys? The leader of the team laughed, and so did his team. Sasuke and Naruto however jumped at them and made them split up. 2 after Sasuke and 1 after Naruto. Sakura went to help Sasuke as much as possible. Naruto versus Rain Genin, the two of them were facing each other, both confident in defeating each other. They didn't say anything, after all there was no need to, as they had no reason to, and the Rain Genin wasn't like his leader Shigur. Suddenly the two jumped at each other to test each other's taijutsu, and within minutes the two genin were in a heated taijutsu match where Naruto was attacking erratically and with as much speed and power as he could manage, and the Rain Genin's defense was barely holding up, and before the Rain Genin knew what was happening, Naruto hit him twice in the face, which made him take a step back, and then got kicked in the face, which launched him at the bark of a tree. Thinking he already won, Naruto turned around to go and help Sasuke against the two opponents. Naruto's opponent however was far from done and took his umbrella of his back and threw it up, shouting, "Shower needle." Looking back at the umbrella releasing hundreds of thick needles would kill him if he didn't do something, and on instinct he put his hands together in a snake seal. He felt like water was flowing through one hand while the second was feeling like mud was on in, and suddenly a dome of wood came up and protected him from all of the needles. Thinking quickly, he created a lightning clone that ran at the Rain Genin and engaged him in a fist fight again. The Rain Genin took out a kunai and started slashing at the clone, and within a minute he succeeded, and that was his demise as he was shocked until he passed out. Coming out of the dome of wood, he walked to the Genin and used a rope to tie him up to a tree and went to look for Sasuke and Sakura. Coming to the place where the rest of his team was, he saw the Rain Genin prepare the needle jutsu, so he quickly went through 5 hand seals: ox, snake, dog, dragon and ram. The lightning gathered on a cloud above them and came down, which made the now needles get stuck on them, and the kunai and shuriken poches were also being attracted to them, and the Konoha Genin threw them upwards. Sasuke and Sakura, knowing that their earth defensive jutsu would not be enough to protect them, came towards Naruto, whose clone finished the hand seals for the wind release smoke dome that would protect them when the real Naruto released the lightning jutsu. Release the jutsu. Naruto prepared himself for the corpses of the 2 genin that were about to die. How he knew they were going to die? Well, Kakashi said that when releasing the jutsu, all the weapons will be brought down in high speeds that will be impossible to dodge for genin. Along with the weapons, the lightning will also come down. Hearing the screams of the 2 genin and then nothing else, the Naruto clone waited a few more minutes before canceling the jutsu and dispelling itself. After seeing the result, Naruto and Sakura emptied their stomach via vomiting, while Sasuke, seeing worse things, checked for the scroll and found a heaven scroll, the one they needed, and then burned the 2 genin with the fire style fire dragon jutsu. Come on, you two, let go to the tower. The 2 just nodded and they were on their merry way. 2 hours later, coming to the center of the tower, the trio of the genin entered the tower and looked around to see a board talking about how you need earth and heaven to become Chunin. Sasuke and Sakura correctly guessed the earth was body strength while heaven was the mind. Naruto completely ignored the board and opened the scrolls, and then throwing it away when the smoke came out. After the smoke released, they saw a confused Iruka there looking at them with wide eyes. After getting over his shock that the team defeated the record of getting the scrolls, he explained the exam's meaning and the scrolls. Now you won't be able to leave the tower, so you will have to live here for the rest of the 5 days. Do we get our own rooms, Iruka-sensei? Asked Sakura, hoping that she won't have to share it with Naruto. She wouldn't mind sharing a room with Sasuke though. There are 20 rooms to sleep in and 10 bathroom, 5 for the boys and 5 for girls. There is a cafeteria for all genin to use as much as you like. There is a training room, but we advise not to use it. Also, at the top of the tower there are 3 rooms that you can't go near. If you do go there, you will have to be called there by Hokage-sama himself, or you will get disqualified. How long did it take for you to remember all of that, Iruka-sense? Deadpanned Naruto, and Mayor Iruka smiled in embarrassment. We will find our own way out, Iruka. Nodding towards Sasuke, Iruka went to report that Team 7 passed to the Hokage and their Jonin. Sensei Kakashi. Let go and explore the tower. Getting punched in the head by his 2 teammates, Naruto looked at them questioningly. We know you just want to go to the top of the tower, you idiot. We can't go there, shouted Sakura at him, vein throbbing on her forehead. Let go and get ourselves rooms and some food, said Sasuke, and started to walk away towards the double doors. Orochimaru couldn't be more pissed at this very moment. People might ask why such an individual like Orochimaru would be seething, seeing as he was a very calm person despite his madness. Well, it was easy. His prey got away before he even confronted them, and the worst thing was that he was tailing them for an hour, but they were too close to the tower for him to attack them without anyone noticing. Now he had to choose a different person to give his curse mark. Thinking of the individuals that could make a good host besides Sasuke, he cringed at the idea of taking over some else besides Sasuke. Hinata Hyuga would be a good host, being a Hyuga and being the heiress to them nonetheless, but she was too weak. It would take at least 3 to 4 years to train her to a good level before he could take her body. Neji Hyuga would be perfect if he wasn't from the branch family of the Hyuga clan. He was a genius that learned many high-level Hyuga techniques by himself, and with his hatred for the main branch of the Hyuga, he would easily follow him, he was sure. But the seal would be a great obstacle, but he was sure if he got a seal to counter it, then even the whole of the branch family Hyuga would follow him. Nothing better to do, he went to meet his spy Kabuto to see if he got any more worthy genin that he could mark or make more followers. Going inside the room, Kakashi saw Naruto read through a scroll on lightning manipulation, which would make him understand more about lightning, and then he would teach him a few more jutsus. Yo! Hey Kakashi-sensei, I'm nearly finished, then you teach me a super cool jutsu? Exclaimed Naruto in excitement at the prospect of learning new jutsu. I'm here for a different reason, Naruto. I'm here to dojutsu that we think you have, said Kakashi in a serious tone, which was only seen when they were in life and death situations. Wait, aren't dojutsu passed on from their parents to their sons or daughters? Does that mean you know who my parents are? Questioned Naruto in excitement. Now, after all, he always wanted to know who was or is his parents. Well, we know who your great-grandparents are, said Kakashi, a bit ashamed at lying to his favorite student, but orders were orders. Who were they? First one was the second son of the Hyuga clan head that was sent to Uzushiogakure no Sato to marry the first daughter of the Uzumaki clan head. We don't really know their names, that all Hokage-sama found when he checked over some of the most important documents in the tower, said Kakashi, and waited for Naruto to react. Naruto for his part didn't know how to react, knowing that he was part of two big clans from the sound of it. Of course he was happy knowing about his ancestors, but he knew that the Hokage was keeping his parents a secret from him, which made him sad. So I have the Sharingan like you and Sasuke? Or is it something better? Asked Naruto. Giving his student an eye smile, he said, something better, and I will leave you a scroll regarding that and many other bloodlines, as you don't know any even if they stared you right in the face. And with that, Kakashi was gone in a puff of smoke. Looking around the forest of death with his Byakugan, he was greeted with various insects, but these insects were larger than him and almost bigger than Kakashi, and there were bigger spiders and other animals like tigers and wolves. Honestly, he didn't know how so many different animals could live in the forest and not just kill each other with their primal instincts. Turning his eyes off that are enlarged with a tinge of lavender in the center of his irises, while the rest were featureless, with veins around his eyes. When his eyes returned to the normal blue eyes, he turned and went to talk to his grandfather figure. Walking to the top of the tower, he saw two Anbu stationed there, Tori and Tora. The latter spoke. Stat your business, Genin Uzumaki Naruto, said Tora. Although he knew what the Genin, he still had to say it as he was following orders of the Hokage. I'm here to see the old man Hokage, said Naruto, studying the two Anbu shinobi, the elites of the village, and Naruto thought of joining them a couple of times, but it wasn't easy to get in the elite organization. He at first thought that he would go to the Anbu headquarters and say he would like to join and they would let him, but that wasn't it. He needed to prove himself skillful and powerful to them by doing lots of missions that didn't include chasing a cat or pulling out weeds. Anbu also had to be the most loyal to the village, considering the kind of work done in the Anbu. Anbu were handpicked by the Hokage himself when he thinks that he or she are good enough to do the high-ranking missions that also had more danger in them than any other missions. At times, when an Anbu captain thinks that someone is capable enough, they can request the Hokage to have them put in Anbu under their command. Wait here. And with that, Tori was gone, presumably to ask permission to let Naruto through. 5 minutes later, he was told he had to come back later as the Hokage was in a meeting right now. Hokage meeting. So Anko, tell me what is the problem is and how would you deal with it? Asked the Hokage Anko, who was holding her cursed seal that was located on the back of her right neck. Orochimaru is here inside the village for some reason, and that reason is not good. For what I would do to him would be find him and kill him, stated Anko spitefully. Hiruzen frowned when he heard the tone. He didn't like the fact that Anko was showing so much hate as he believed in peace, but knowing about Orochimaru and Anko's past with him, he didn't say anything. Thinking about it for a couple of minutes, he finally said, in the village besides me, no one is powerful enough to kill Orochimaru, and even a squad of Anbu would be no problem for Orochimaru to kill. So what do? We wait for him to make a move and then I will deal with him personally, Hiruzen stated without any thought, hoping to kill one of his biggest failures. Anything else, Anko? Yes, the Suna team. I worry one of them is a Jinchuriki. With Naruto walking inside Sasuke's room, he saw the said boy reading a scroll that said fire on it. Thinking about it, Sasuke read that particular scroll. Before interested, he asked what it was. It a scroll with a few fire jutsu my dad was planning to teach me, he said, and for once his voice wasn't plain, it was laced with multiple emotions. Sadness and happiness being the main ones. What is it like having parents, a family? Asked Naruto. He, like every orphan kid, wanted to have parents and family and wondered what that would like to be. Seeing as Sasuke was like himself, he asked the question. Looking at his rival, Sasuke thought about the question and remembered his early life where his mother and father were alive like the rest of his family, when Itachi was still the loving brother, not the one who went insane. It very different than being alone. No matter where you are, you always feel loved, protected. I remember the first day of the academy where I was the only Uchiha. I was scared, not because I was there alone but because of the expectations that everyone had for me. After all, my brother was an Anbu at the age of 11 and my father was one of the 4 people that were considered for the Hokage position after the war, while my mother was AA-ranked kunoichi. Shutting his eyes closed, he thought back to the times of his family and smiled before continuing. I was really scared like I said, but then I remembered that no matter what would happen my family would support me through everything, and so I relaxed. What I'm trying to say is that knowing that you always had someone to support you, your family, you have less problem to overcome it. Whenever I was out with my mom I was happy just being there and I felt that nothing could hurt me, and when father was with me felt protected. Right now when our team if together I feel the same things. I feel like our team is somewhat of a family. Finished Sasuke. He said the last bit for a reason and Naruto understood. Sasuke, how did your clan get wiped out like that? Asked Naruto. My older brother Itachi Uchiha was a genius. At the age of 13 he became an Enbu captain, and after a couple of months he went insane and killed every Uchiha except me to test himself, said Sasuke in anger and hatred. Naruto, hearing this, he started to think that something was suspicious about the Uchiha clan demise. He couldn't fathom anyone being able to do that to a clan that was so powerful. He didn't know how powerful, but considering the fact the Sasuke's parents were S-ranked and A-ranked and that another 50 or more Uchiha there had the Sharingan, there's no way one person would be able to kill everyone. If Itachi actually killed the whole Uchiha clan by himself, he had to be more powerful than the 4 Hokages put together, which was ridiculous. Itachi had to have help from multiple of people or he would have been dead soon after he attacked. Sasuke, how powerful would your family be at that time? Asked Naruto, very interested in his answer. My clan was stronger than all of the other clans put together, said Sasuke, proud of that. Looking at Naruto, he saw him being confused. Why the confused face? If what you say is true, how did Itachi not die that day? Sasuke was about to say something, but Naruto put his hand up indicating that he was going to continue. Kakashi-sensei was an Anbu captain as well and is considered the strongest ninja in the village behind the old man, and I'm pretty sure he would not be able to even kill one person if he attacked a clan, as he would be against multiple opponents at the same time instantly. Thinking about what Naruto said, he released where Naruto was going with that thought and voiced it. So you think someone helped him or a group of people helped him that were strong as him? Naruto mentioned Sasuke to follow him, which he did. I'm going to the old man now. Let's talk to him about it. End of the second exam. Standing in front of the Hokage and the Jonin sensei, 4 teams were there. The Suna team, Team 8, Team 7 and Team Guy. Well done Genin at passing the second stage of the Chunin exams. Now listen carefully to what Hokage-sama says, said Enko loudly to the Genin below her. Now before you can go through to the next stage of the exams, I must tell you the real reason the Chunin exams were introduced and are being held every 6 months, said Hiruzen, and looked at the confused Genin briefly before continuing. The exams are a replacement for war and to determine which village is the strongest. If your villages seem weak in the finals, your village would get less missions, and if you seem strong, then you get more missions. The next round is a tournament-based one-on-one fight. Now Enko will go around with a box and you pick a number so that we determine who you will be up against. Seeing a hand rose up, he mentioned for Sakura to talk. Hokage-sama, considering that it is a tournament, does that mean only one becomes a Chunin? No, the tournament is for Genin to show off their power, and from what you show you could be promoted even if you lost the first round, and winning the tournament doesn't guarantee a promotion either, said the Hokage. After everyone got a number, Enko told them to tell her and she sorted it out and showed who will fight who. Neji Hyuga vs Sasuke Uchiha Rock Lee vs Kiba Inuzuka Naruto Uzumaki vs Tamari Kankuro vs 1010. Hinata Hyuga vs Sakura Haruno Shino vs Gaara. Now you have a month to train up and get ready for your match. Now you can go. With that the Hokage left. Naruto and his team were looking towards their sensei, who was walking towards them without his book, which meant he was business. Yo, meet me at our training ground in 2 hours to talk about our training for the month. And with that he was gone, leaving 3 confused Genin, but they knew to go to their training ground in 5 hours. We have to go through the forest to get out, don't we? Asked Sakura, but everyone knew it was a statement. Walking out of the forest and following the path that led out of it, the team saw a girl that Sasuke knew too well, looking depressed. Walking towards her, Sasuke flinched at her eyes full of pain, as he knew it too well. He put two and two together and knew what it meant. Her teammate must have been killed and she witnessed it. "You two go on, I will catch up to you." Sakura nodded and left while Naruto looked at him and then her for a brief moment, looking as he wanted to say something, but he shook his head before leaving, obviously thinking it wasn't his place to say anything. "Emi, let go and get something to eat." Nodding, Emi turned and started to walk, not even talking to him. Sasuke expected that and walked quietly with her. Walking out of the forest, they went straight to the main district of Konoha, and Sasuke went to a dango restaurant and bought some, and then the two went to a nearby training ground to have some privacy. "So Emi, want to talk about it?" asked Sasuke surprisingly in a sympathetic tone. Nodding, she started. "Our team had both scrolls and we were heading towards the tower. It was the fourth day. Near the tower we got ambushed by a trio of Suna ninja and we were fighting, and the person I was fighting used a wind jutsu that sent me flying towards a tree and I hit my head, and before I knew what was happening the Suna genin was at me with a kunai going to stab me, but my teammate Nawaki jumped in the way and got killed instead, and so we continued and my other teammate managed to get near me and then we ran away hoping to come back later." She took a deep breath in and willed herself to not cry, but it was useless as she couldn't stop when she remembered that moment. Sasuke was listening to what she said and had a few things to say that could help her, but he didn't say anything for now. "The Suna team followed us and used a wind jutsu again, but this time my teammate used a fire jutsu and burned the genin that gave him second-degree burns while his teammates got away as they were further behind. The other two came at us and we fought back and I managed to kill one of them and went to help my other teammate Noriaki, and together we managed to knock him out, and when he was going back to Nawaki the Suna genin that we managed to hurt first came to kill us from behind, and before we knew what happened Noriaki was dead, and so I killed that genin as well." Nawaki and Noriaki were close things. She had to a family and were her brothers from the start of the academy. She was extremely sad about what happened to them and she was the one to blame, as she was the first that got hit by the wind technique and that why Nawaki was killed, and if he hadn't died Noriaki wouldn't have died. It was all her fault, even if the Hokage and her Jonin sensei said otherwise. Sasuke knew what she was thinking and thought what to say without being harsh on her. "Emi, I know what kind of pain you are going through." Emi would have sneered at that had it been anyone else, but she knew he was saying the truth, so she kept quiet. "I don't know why I'm here trying to help you. And I know that you are blaming yourself for their demise, but don't do it." She looked surprised when he said the last bit, but guessed that since he went through the same thing in a larger scale he would understand her best. "You shouldn't blame yourself, mainly because Nawaki chose to die so that you could live same as Noriaki. Blaming yourself would be like spitting on their sacrifice for you." Thinking about it, she nodded as it made sense. "So what should I do?" she asked after she wiped the tears of her face. "Well, you look hungry, so I suggest you eat first," he said and offered her a stick of dango. 4 hours later, standing in a clearing was Kakashi along with Yugo, a powerful kunoichi that was going to help Sakura with taijutsu and other things which she deemed important. The other person was Tenzo, codename Yamato, who was going to teach Sasuke, while he was going to teach Naruto in the use of his new tool, namely his eyes. Looking in front of him, he saw Sakura look concentrated and interested in what was about to happen, while her teammates were looking bored and would rather be somewhere else than there. Now that we are all here, let's get to the point." This got the two Anbu to glare at Kakashi and his genin as they arrived on time and had to wait for them. "Sasuke, you will be trained by Tenzo here, who is an Anbu captain. He will teach you a few jutsu and how to use a sword while also making you faster and stronger. Also don't call him Tenzo but Yamato, understood?" Nodding, Sasuke left after Yamato told him to meet him the next day near the Hokage Tower. "Sakura, you will be taught here by my friend Yugo Uzuki in whatever she thinks is important. And finally Naruto, you will be trained by me personally, as you are behind your teammates in various things that Chunin need if they want to be successful." "Like what?" shouted Naruto. "Like strategy, knowledge and control of your emotions. Should I mention your knack of rushing into things without thinking?" Naruto became quiet after being told this, as he knew Kakashi was right. At around 6 in the morning, two people were seen training at a training ground outside the village. Was Naruto and Kakashi sparring. Naruto having his Byakugan activated, doing his best to strike Kakashi, who was dodging and striking himself. They were doing this for 30 minutes now. Naruto was woken up by Kakashi at 5 a.m. and brought to this secluded training ground to teach Naruto how to use his dojutsu during a fight. Naruto was surprised that Kakashi actually woke it at such an early time considering that he was always late previously. But considering the importance of the exams, maybe it warranted such seriousness from the lazy man. Continuing for a few minutes more, Kakashi kicked Naruto, which sent him flying. "Let's take a break and go to get some breakfast," said Kakashi as he saw Naruto rubbing his head. "Do you have to hit that hard?" asked Naruto, but G-Sponsei while he deactivated his eyes and followed Kakashi back to the village. "What will we have for breakfast? I'm starving." "Something to give you a lot of energy so that we could train till night time," replied Kakashi as they went into a random restaurant that quickly came to get their orders mainly because they saw Kakashi entering. "Kakashi-kun, what would you like to eat today?" asked the waitress with a blush on her face. The waitress was 175 centimeters tall, and wore the uniform that was provided by the restaurant, which looked plain as it was black shirt and trouser or skirt with leggings and nothing stood out. She had light brown hair and had green eyes. "Can I have eggs with toast as well as some sake?" asked Kakashi. The waitress nodded and Kakashi said, "Thank you, Kira-chan." "What about you, Naruto-san? Do you serve ramen?" asked Naruto, and Kira shook her head. "No, we don't. Would you like the same as Kakashi-kun?" "I don't drink sake." "Kira-chan, get him everything you serve for breakfast, he will need it for the training," said Kakashi, and Kira nodded and left. Looking at Kakashi, Naruto asked what the training will consist of. That he will need large amount of food. "I will train you in elemental jutsu and more advanced taijutsu for the next 3 weeks. The 4th week will be teaching you tactics and other stuff that I mentioned at our last meeting." Naruto nodded and Kakashi took out 2 papers that looked creamy sort of. "What are those?" "These are chakra papers which determine your chakra affinity. I have lightning affinity, so the paper would wrinkle. If I had fire affinity, it catch fire and turn to ash. If I had water affinity, it would turn damp. If I had wind, it would split in half, and finally if I had earth affinity, the paper would turn to dirt and crumble away." "Let me try." Giving him the paper, Naruto released some chakra in the paper, and what happened shocked Kakashi to the core. First the paper split in 4, signaling wind, then 1 if the squares caught on fire and turned into ash, the next piece wrinkled, the next turned to dirt and crumbled away, and lastly the paper turned damp. Naruto had affinity for all 5 elements. He understood lighting since most Hyuga had that affinity. That's why he taught Naruto the first 3 lightning jutsu, and wind as well as his father and mother had it along with water release. Coming out of his stupor, he looked at Naruto and saw his face full of excitement as well as awe. "Well, that was shocking," he said in a bored voice, trying to downplay what he saw. He heard that the only other person to have all the affinities naturally was the sage of the 6 paths and no one else, and that was because of the Rinnegan. "That's so amazing, I have all 5 elements," said Naruto as he imagined himself throwing awesome jutsus around. Kakashi then told Naruto how they will be training with clones so that he could at least learn how to use 1 or 2 elements properly by the end of the month. They first will be trying to finish the first step of the lightning release, as he already knew 2 jutsu from said elements, and if they finish that, then Naruto will move on to wind, as he already had a jutsu from that element as well. 10 minutes later Kira arrived and served them their food, which was quickly eaten and then paid for before the 2 went to their previous training ground and start on their elemental training. That day 10 p.m. 3 people were near the training ground 44. Forest of Death. These 3 were Kabuto Yakushi, Baki and Yugito Ni, and were currently talking about the exams. "Yugito, explain to me why you didn't pass the 2nd stage and even killed on of Sounds Genin?" asked Kabuto, a bit angry at what the women did. "That easy. Those 3 tried to ambush me, so I killed them, and the reason I didn't qualify was because I didn't have to, as Raikage-sama said, to infiltrate the village using the exams as cover," she said, not least intimidated by Kabuto. She knew out of the 3 there she was the strongest one of them. "That clears that, and now how will Kumo help the invasion?" asked Baki, lacking any emotion in his voice. "We will keep the Hyuga busy, and I will also do what that Gaara kid will do." Training Ground 9. It was 2 weeks since Sasuke started to train under Yamato, and what they did was train his body to become faster and stronger using weights. He was also introduced to the art of the swords. At first he was crap as expected, but with some training he got good enough to use a proper sword without cutting himself. He also trained alone, and using his clan's library he learned how to infuse chakra into his sword for extra cutting power using fire or lightning, his two affinities. He also learned a few fire jutsu along with the shadow clones and its lightning variant. He could make 3 clones before getting exhausted. The training was what he wanted and was going to request the Hokage to put him into Enbu under Yamato, Tenzo, so that he could keep learning from the man. He also met up with Emi twice and learned that she was mostly over her teammate's death, which was good. She asked him to teach her a jutsu, which he did. He taught her one of his new techniques, fire style. Incinerating hail jutsu. The hand seals were tiger, snake and dragon, then focusing fire chakra into their hand they throw the chakra upwards, which then rains down small fireballs that can turn boulders to molten rock. The technique was a powerful B rank. Teaching her was fun as he watched her burn her hands and run around until her hands cooled off. She still had problems with the technique while he already learned and mastered a few other techniques which showed him how much more privileged he was at being a prodigy. Learning everything with ease while people with less talent took way longer to master techniques he viewed as a waste of his time. They also had food at the Ichiraku family stand as he liked ramen, not as much as Emi or Naruto, but it will do, he guessed. Once he saw Naruto there and found out that he progressed much farther than him in the jutsu department as he learned the first step of the lightning release, wind release and water release exercises and learned 2 jutsu from each. When he introduced Emi to Naruto, both liked each other as they both loved ramen and from his knowledge ate there a few times together, which bothered him a bit. He later realized that it bothered him because he would have rather been there instead of his friend. Naruto also said when his full team was there bar Kakashi that he suspected Kakashi to have a lover and that why he always came late. The 3 genin will later investigate about that once the exams were over. Right now he was waiting for Emi to come as she asked him to see how far she progressed with the jutsu and to help her out a bit. A few minutes later she was walking towards him, and when she was in front of him she tripped and fell forward straight into Sasuke and the two fell. Ah! Both shouted as they fell. Emi was on top of Sasuke and her face was inches away, and Sasuke did what everyone sane male would do and kissed her and hoped she didn't reject him. Day of the exams, walking towards the ramen stand that she visited for the past month to meet Sasuke and then go with him to the stadium that the fights will take place. She smiled as she remembered how close she had gotten to the Uchiha boy after the kiss. Seeing the ramen stand in the distance, she saw Sasuke there in his normal attire but black in color instead, which made her blush a little as he looked cool and hot at the same time. Looking at the girl he came to like, he wasn't surprised that she didn't change her attire considering that she very much liked it. He didn't care either way as looks to him weren't important, but her character, personality and her strength, as that was what he valued. "Hey Sasuke-kun." "Hey Emi, let go, I don't want to be late," Sasuke said, not interested in any conversation. After all, he had his priorities straight and wiping the floor with everyone and becoming the Chunin was top priority today. "Not interested in cover scene, I see," she said after standing next to him. She then leaned into his ear and whispered in a suggesting kissing or other things. Had it been someone else they would have got funny ideas, but this was Sasuke we was talking about here. So he just gave her a blank stare and started to walk away, making Emi pout, but recovered and took his hand and started to ask him a bunch of questions to piss him off. Walking into the stadium, the duo that consisted of one Sasuke Uchiha and Emi Megumi found of that walking hand in hand was not a good idea, as they found themselves stared at and then whispered about, by his fangirls obviously. Most common things were, "What spell did that witch use to get him?" And, "I can't believe Sasuke-kun would choose her over me." Sasuke didn't care about either, but Emi was not as good at ignoring people like him, which made her embarrassed but shook it off and gave him a kiss on the cheek. "I know you don't need it, but good luck." He nodded and she went up to the stands to get a seat. Walking towards Naruto, he saw him grinning like an idiot that he was and was going to say something but stopped as he saw Sakura's expression and he didn't want to suffer any injuries before his match. "So Sasuke ready to lose?" asked Naruto. You sound confident, loser. No one in these exams are a match for me and Uchiha," said Sasuke in absolute conviction. "We'll see. I am Genma, the proctor of the last exam. Now everyone look sharp, the matches will start soon," said a Jonin with a senbon in his mouth, and every genin did so, and soon the Hokage spoke to the audience and the genin left the arena and went up to the waiting area for their matches to come. Neji and Sasuke were staring at each other and the audience was waiting for the Dujutsu match to come. The rivalry between the Hyuga clan and Uchiha clan was similar to the Senju and Uchiha, as they had the strongest dojutsu in this world. "Are you ready to lose, Uchiha?" asked Neji in a cold tone and demeanor the Hyuga use. Sasuke just smirked at the Hyuga, as he didn't know how far beneath him he was. "So the Hyuga think that they are the big dogs now that my clan is gone, huh? I will have to show you how far beneath you are, Hyuga." He finished and got in the Interceptor Fist Taijutsu fist, activating his Sharingan. Neji got into his gentle fist style and activated his Dojutsu and waited for the Jonin to start, and so that he could finish him quickly. "Are the two fighters ready?" Both nodded and Genma said, "Hajime?" Both ran at each other and started the deadly dance that was a taijutsu match. Sasuke was using his Sharingan to anticipate Neji's moves and dodged, as he knew of the deadly effect of the gentle fist. He tried to get his hit in as well, but Neji blocked or dodged. Sasuke saw a chance to move out of the taijutsu match and jumped back, making 7 hand seals and released the great fireball technique. Neji saw no way to dodge the fireball, as it was way too large to dodge, so he used his ultimate defense, Kaden, which defended him but made him sweat a little, as the heat from the fireball couldn't be stopped as the fireball itself. I thought the branch family was not allowed to learn that technique," said Sasuke, obviously not expecting that technique from Neji. In the stands, the Hyuga clan was shocked at seeing a branch member use that technique, which was reserved for the main house of the Hyuga family. Seeing that made everyone from the clan accept the fact that he was more talented than any other Hyuga before him. "Father, I know Hanabi. Seems he recreated the technique somehow," Hanabi's father said, shocked himself but didn't let anyone notice it. "I never knew he was that strong." The admiration was easily spotted in her voice, and that admiration was rightfully earned. Neji managed to do something no one else did from the branch family. "Learn the Kaden." Neji narrowed his eyes at Sasuke, mentioning the fact that he was not supposed to know the technique as he was from the branch family, but he ignored it and charged at him again, but Sasuke just jumped back while throwing shurikens at him, which he dodged by jumping to the side. And that was a bad decision, as a fireball much smaller than the last waited for him with a few others, which made it impossible to dodge, so he used his Kaden again to defend himself. Stopping the Kaden, he saw fireballs above him raining down at him with no way to defend. The fireballs hit him straight in the chest and head, which made him fall on his rear. Sasuke was instantly at his side with a kunai next to his neck, which meant that he lost, and Genma called the match for Sasuke. Match winner 1, Sasuke Uchiha. That was met by cheering and claps for the wonderful match. Walking to the waiting booth for the contenders, he saw Naruto giving him a thumbs up. "Nice match, Sasuke." He just nodded and looked at Sakura, who was ignoring him, which was fine by him. The Hokage, watching the last match, was impressed by Sasuke, as he showed good use of fire jutsu as well as the Sharingan, not to mention the strategy he used to defeat Neji after seeing his Kaden. He was a bit disappointed at Neji, as he was stronger than Sasuke, but still lost just because of the fact that he didn't consider Sasuke a threat because he lost against his teammate before the exam. Instead of fighting like a true shinobi, he went and used his taijutsu without using any advanced techniques he knew off, and used a defensive jutsu, thinking that Sasuke would let him finish it and letting him attack. If he did that in the field, that would mean the death of him and his teammates. That match alone showed him that Neji was not yet ready to be a Chunin, while Sasuke was. "The Hyuga boy shows promise, but he is not a Chunin material, don't you think so, Hokage Dono?" said the Kazekage, thinking the same thing as the Hokage. The Hokage nodded and then watched the second match and saw that Rock Lee easily beat Kiba using straight taijutsu. Kiba used everything he got and damaged Lee, but ultimately he was not good enough. He was certainly strong for his age, and considering that he was in the academy 4 months ago, he did better than expected. Even though Kiba didn't win, it wasn't because he wasn't good enough, it was just that Lee was that good in a way. Most of the judges were impressed, as well as he used his jutsu well and used good tactics versus a superior opponent to damage him somewhat. With Rock Lee, people were even more impressed, as he couldn't use ninjutsu or taijutsu but compensated for that with his great taijutsu. Rock Lee is quite impressive for someone so young. If he could use ninjutsu and genjutsu, he would have been one of the most promising young ninja, stated the Kazekage. He was impressed that a genin could be so strong without the use of chakra. But one thing was certain: he will lose against the Uchiha, as the Uchiha with one good genjutsu and the boy will be out. Yes, he was. The first 2 matches were rather good, and now your eldest daughter will go against one of my most promising genin. Yes, that match will prove to be a great way to show the sand's strength. Nodding, the Hokage saw Naruto enter the arena by jumping down, and Temari used her fan to fly there, and the two met each other in the center on the arena. So are you ready to lose, Naruto? One, Shikamaru Nara was expecting a troublesome match because first there was a girl there, and second both of the contestants were blonde, which meant both were equally troublesome, the girl more so. When Tamaki or whatever her name was said she will defeat him with so much confidence, he just dismissed her as being as arrogant, mainly because he knew Naruto was trained by Kakashi Hitaki, and if he knew one fire jutsu like Sasuke, the girl was dead. He knew that with the fan she will not be able to stop Naruto if his sensei taught him one fire jutsu like he did with Sasuke. Naruto was the obvious winner here, no problem. Back at the center of the arena, Naruto just grinned at her and did four-hand seals: tiger, ram, monkey, boar, horse and tiger, and released a fireball that was nowhere near as powerful as the one Sasuke did, but still managed to scorch Temari before she jumped out of the way. Temari cursed at her bad luck at getting a fire USTSU. Attacks will be dangerous to herself as her wind jutsus will strengthen his weak fire jutsus. She had to use her taijutsu, which wasn't that bad, so she still had a chance. What was that, Temari-chan? You will beat me? Mocked Naruto. Obviously he thought he already won because of his elemental advantage. You think you won? You have another thing coming, Naruto. She raced towards him and used her fan as a bow staff and bought it to his head, which he just jumped back before tossing a couple of shuriken, which she deflected and raced to him and tried to no avail to hit him. This continued for a couple of seconds before she suddenly opened her fan and unleashed her jutsu and caught Naruto in her wind scythe jutsu, making cuts in his clothes and a few scratches on his face. Seeing the results of her jutsu, she frowned. Even when she knew her jutsu would be less powerful without preparation, she didn't think it would be this weaker. That jutsu was extremely weak, said Kakashi, and thought of why that would be, as most fan users could use that jutsu without preparation without losing any power of the jutsu. There was one reason he could find, and that was because she didn't finish the elemental manipulation. Yes, it seems that young Temari has not quite finished her training regarding wind manipulation, said Guy. He was by no means a ninjutsu expert, but he knew his things. After all, he was a jonin. He was also impressed by both of their taijutsu, as most young genin who concentrated on ninjutsu were horrible at taijutsu. Damn, Temari, was that your best? He taunted, and Temari was not going to let this go, so she fully opened her fan and shouted. Wind style. Wind scythe jutsu. Water style. Wild water wave. The two jutsu met in the middle, and it seemed as the wind jutsu had the upper hand before Naruto sent more chakra into the technique and cancelled Temari's jutsu before ending his own. Bowing her head, she raised her hand and said, I give up. Seems that she is a clever one. Yeah, said Kakashi as he and Guy started to applaud Naruto. Temari was just outmatched against someone like Naruto, as his taijutsu and physical was better than hers and his chakra reserves were way more larger than hers, along the fact that he had technique that equaled her jutsu's power made him a bad opponent. Naruto against someone who relied on wind jutsu would win 9 out of 10. Kakashi was happy that, just like Sasuke, Naruto didn't reveal anything about his skills by trying to look good, and instead used his head and made the girl realize her efforts were useless against him. Temari was smart enough to quite showing that her pride wouldn't affect decision-making on missions, and along her wind jutsu they might promote her to Chunin, and if not, she now knew what to work on to get promoted next time she took the exam. The Uzumaki outclassed my daughter, what a surprise, said the Kazekage with a voice that indicated otherwise. The Hokage was not someone that you could call paranoid, but that put him on edge, as no one was supposed to know about Naruto and his skills. And here the Kazekage knew something about Naruto that made him doubt his own daughter, yet he knew that she was the only one the Kazekage trained, which meant that something was going on. He knew Orochimaru was in the village, and he knew that the Kazekage had no idea who Naruto was and thought he was someone who passed just because the Uchiha prodigy was in his team and nothing else. Which meant that the Kazekage was actually Orochimaru using one of his sick jutsu to impersonate him. He won't act and wait for his traitorous student to do his bidding and stop him in whatever he was going to do, even if his soul was to be given to the Shinigami. That he meant literally, as he knew the seal to summon him. Back with Naruto and Temari, who right now was smiling, glaring at each other. Next time we fight I will wipe the floor with you, said Temari, not being all that happy at being forced to surrender. Naruto walked up to her and put his arm out for Temari, who took it, but before she knew what happened he pulled her to him and kissed her before she realized what was happening and what happened. Seeing the look of pure fury that appeared on her face after he stopped, he backed off. "Uzumaki, you're dead." She ran at him and pummeled him, making everyone sweat drop. While the people that knew Naruto could only think, only Naruto would win a match to death at times and then get pummeled and it finished. "You two get off the fighting stage, a new match will start in a few seconds." After the beaten Naruto and still slightly pissed Temari left the arena, the proctor called out, "Tenten of the Leaf versus Konkuro of the Sand, come down," shouted Genma shouted at the constant box. "I can't fight now, I need to keep my strength a secret and I'm not about to hold back like Temari." Coming to a quick conclusion, he shouted back at Genma, "Proctor, I forfeit." This is weird. Something is wrong with this, as the girl was holding back and now her brother quits before the match. I need to inform the Hokage. Not only that, but they are not supported by their daimyo, mainly because he thinks of them as weak, and a weak performance would mean he would totally stop aiding them, thus crippling them. But they might try something else to show their power. An invasion of the strongest village to show their strength? Shikaku mentioned for a nearby Chunin to tell the Hokage to be on guard while sending a code to inform his comrades to be on guard as something off. All the ninja understood but didn't flinch or showed outwardly that they knew something was off to not alert the enemy. Kakashi looked towards the Hokage and nodded in his direction, but the Hokage shook his head. Kakashi knew what that meant. Don't act, just wait for them to do so instead. Okay, Tenten of the Leaf wins by default. Now Sakura Haruno versus Hinata Hyuga. Both constant come down, said Genma, and waited for the Leaf Kunoichi to come down. After both came down, they said good luck to each other before getting into their respective taijutsu stances. Are you both ready? After both nodded, he said, fight, and jumped back. Sakura jumped back and threw two kunai knives at Hinata, which she dodged, but the following explosions blast through her at a distance, but did nothing but damaged her clothes a little. Byakugan, said Hinata, activating her bloodline, and ran towards Sakura again, but Sakura kept jumping away and throwing kunais with explosion notes, but nothing happened as Hinata dodged them easily as well as avoided the explosions as well. Getting tired of just running, Sakura took out a kunai and attacked Hinata in close combat with the knife and tried to cut her at least once as she coated the kunai with poison. Knowing this, Hinata didn't let Sakura hit her and jumped back, going through 4 hand seals. Lightning style. Lightning blast. Holding her finger out, a beam of lightning went straight for Sakura, who did her own hand seals. Earth style. Earth wall. When the lightning jutsu hit the earth jutsu, a large cloud of smoke shot up, making it impossible to see, but Hinata saw everything with her dojutsu and raced into the cloud, and before Sakura knew what happened, a kunai was pressed against her neck. I'm sorry, Sakura-san, but you should forfeit, said Hinata, sincerely hoping that Sakura would give up and she would win. Hinata, you won, there is no need to apologies, said Sakura before looking towards the proctor. I give up. Nodding, Genma was about to announce Hinata as the winner, but an explosion from the cage box made him stop in his tracks. When the explosion went off, Naruto quickly ran towards the cage box, hoping he could help the Hokage with whatever he needed help with. When he arrived, he saw a purple barrier up already, which meant he couldn't go through before he took out one of the people putting it up, presumably Orochimaru's henchman. Looking around, he saw the people putting up the barrier had created another barrier that went around them so that no one could take them out. What nuisance! Still, he had a jutsu just for this moment. Going up to the nearest henchman, he saw orange hair. He went through 7 hand seals before calling out lighting style. Underground laser. His hand was crackling with electricity before he put it on the floor, and all the electricity went towards the man and then some, making the maid shout in pain and letting go of the jutsu he was using to keep the barrier up. Naruto used this to run inside the barrier that somehow had a forest in there. No one else managed to get inside the barrier as the man was able to put it back up, after a few seconds. Going inside, he found the 3rd Hokage staring at his student Orochimaru, who was behind the 1st Hokage as well as the 2nd Hokage. Both were wearing their armor, which was different in colors. The 1st Hokage was wearing a red one while the 2nd Hokage was wearing a blue one. All eyes turned on him. All of them different reactions towards his presence. Orochimaru looked on amused. The 2nd Hokage Tobirama looked at him like he was some sort of idiot, while the 1st and 3rd Hokage looked scared. Not that they feared him, but they were scared what will happen to him in a fight against such powerful people. Kukuku. What is such an ant like you doing here? Don't you see lions are about to fight? Asked Orochimaru with a wicked grin. An ant still can put down a lion with enough allies. Kage Bunshin no jutsu, shouted Naruto, and like that there were hundreds of his clones attacking the 3 Kage level ninja. Meanwhile Naruto went over to Hiruzen. Gigi, what the plan? Hiruzen looked at Naruto and assessed his strengths and how strong he was. His control over the Byakugan wasn't the best, but he could use it well to coordinate his attacks better with his clones, which will him with surprise attacks, not that it will help them in that situation. His arsenal of ninjutsu was better than most ninja in the village, as he could use all of the elements, and Kakashi taught his lots of jutsu. The power of the jutsu was questionable as he never saw them after he used them, but Kakashi said it was good. His taijutsu was good enough for a Chunin, same as his speed and strength. All in all, he was a high Chunin in skill. I don't know everything about the jutsu, but if I kill Orochimaru, Hashirama-sensei and Tobirama-sensei will be released from his control. The question is, how long can Naruto last against those two before they kill him? Thinking about it more, that was their only choice in victory. Naruto, I want you to fight the first and second Hokage. Naruto nodded. I will fight Orochimaru, and once I kill him his control over the 2 Hokage will be released. Naruto nodded again. Hiruzen then jumped after Orochimaru and lead him away from Naruto and the 2 dead Kage. Naruto created 2 more clones, and all of them jumped high into the sky, where they went through different hand seals. The clones doing a fire jutsu while he did a wind one to power their fire up. Fire style. Dragon Flame Caterwall. Fire style. Dragon Flame Bullet Wind style. Great breakthrough. The resulting jutsu combination was hot enough to turn the wood into ash while destroying all the clones that were still alive. Tobirama managed to put up a water-style barrier around himself and his brother to protect them. What will fighting me alone accomplish, Sensei? I've become immortal. There is no way you can kill me, said the Snake Sanin in a disturbing voice that wasn't his own but feminine and way younger than Orochimaru was himself. So you finished that jutsu? Hiruzen said in disgust and made his mind up to kill him, precious student. Doing the Tiger Seal, Hiruzen concentrated and Orochimaru prepared to defend against what he thought would be a fire-style jutsu. Genjutsu. Infinite Darkness Jutsu. Orochimaru then was in complete darkness. All he could see was black, and just that, he knew it was a genjutsu, but he couldn't break out off of it. He heard footsteps in front of him and let out snakes about his sleeves, and then he heard a pop, which meant it was a shadow clone. He was then grappled by his former sensei and stabbed in the back with a kunai knife. Foolish, such weapons have no effects on me, he thought before feeling his strength leave him. His eyes then became wider as he realized that his sensei used some kind of poison on him. We knew you would attack Orochimaru. You were foolish to reveal your plan so soon. Had you not, I might have died. But now the poison in your system will make sure you never attack the leave. Again, he would have continued had Orochimaru not poofed away. Seems he had the snake's revers summon him, he said to himself, and then went to check on Naruto and the 2 deceased Hokage. Arriving, he said Naruto being healed by Hashirama, while Tobirama was standing there looking at Naruto with a questioning look. I see once I've poisoned Orochimaru he couldn't keep control of you too, said Hiruzen to the 2 while Tobirama gave him an unimpressed look. You're wrong. Once elder brother caught the kid, he absorbed some of the 9 Tails chakra from within him and broke free, and he stopped me. And once you defeated the snake I was freed from his control, he said, and then stared at the 3rd Hokage a bit, then went back to looking at Naruto. Oh man, I can't believe you broke 6 of my ribs in like 10 minutes, said Naruto as he jumped back up and looked excited at the 2 deceased Hokage. Kid, who is your dad? Looking at Tobirama questioningly, he answered, I don't know, no one knows. Saru, do you have anything to say? Asked Tobirama with a stern tone, waiting for an explanation as to why does this kid's chakra feel so familiar while being so different. He of course knew why, he just wanted confirmation. But before Hiruzen got to say anything, a loud explosion rang out, outside the village. Looking out there they saw the 1 Tails, Shukaku and the 4 Tails monkey right outside the village. I think we have more pressing matters at hand at the moment, brother, let go, said Hashirama. They took off towards the location of the tailed beasts. The Sound 4 fled after Orochimaru escaped, don't ask how. Hiruzen, you should go and help around the village, S3 will do just fine. Hiruzen nodded and went to the main entrance where the snakes were battling a toad. Sasuke was standing on the highest branch on the biggest tree overlooking his team that comprised of Emi, Lee, Hinata and Shikamaru. Temari was also there. She had helped them fight the Jonin who turned into a giant red monkey after having his ass handed to him from all of them. Her brother who was helping them turned into a giant tanuki. But Gaara was totally outclassed in the fight between the two beasts. Still he knew help was on the way, so he wasn't worried, he knew. Kakashi was strong, very strong, and Guy was said to be just as strong if not stronger than him, which meant once they get here the monkey won't stand a chance. Sasuke-kun, I think we should leave, Emi shouted at him, while he just nodded and jumped down. Looking around he saw that all of them had various bruises on their body but nothing extreme. The only person that seemed to be worse for wear was Lee, who used the 5 gates to overwhelm the Jonin. He saw that Shikamaru, Temari and him were without injuries, and while Emi had a few bruises just like Hinata, while Lee had most of his muscles torn from using the was mainly because of the great plan thought by Shikamaru, who had Emi, Hinata and Lee fight in close while the rest of them attacked from afar with their jutsu. Good plan, Shikamaru. Now should we go to the shelters or go back to the village and fight? We should head to the hospital as Lee needs to rest and that the best place to do so. Also be prepared to engage in battle once we get back into the village. They all nodded and left. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.